Godzilla x Kong, Guardians of Equestria, written by Phantom Plus 1234 Chapter 2. Outsider's Great Ape Slayer. Hollow-Earthian wiped the sweat from her forehead as the members of the task force began to regroup. Well, nothing so far, said Trapper. Are you certain it's around here? Asked Bernie. The research team at Outpost 1 said the energy readings were detected around here, said Eileen. She turned towards Gia, who seemed to be staring off in a certain direction. She walked over and tapped her on the shoulder. What's up? I can sense Kong, Gia responded in sign language. What question mark? Eileen asked. What's she saying? Asked Bernie. Gia says she can sense Kong nearby, answered Eileen. Well, this is his new kingdom, said Trapper. It's coming from that way, Gia says, pointing at a small entrance to a tunnel. She says he's somewhere down that way, Eileen says. Well, only one way to find out, said Trapper. Let's go check it out, shall we? The group quickly piled back into the cave and began making their way down the dark tunnel. Hey, wait, something's up ahead, said Eileen. As Trapper began to slow down, they came out into a huge open area where Scooter was standing in front of the newly opened vortex looking somewhat nervous. Mini Kong! Bernie exclaimed. As the head slowly approached, Scooter turned around and looked at them before pointing at the vortex and began whimpering and howling as he imitated Kong's behavior. And it looks like it's that vortex that the research team had mentioned, said Eileen. Should we even go in there? Asked Bernie. I can sense Kong on the other side, Gia said in sign language. Gia said he went in there, said Eileen. Well, guess there's only one way to find out, said Trapper. Although slightly reluctant, Trapper piloted the head into the vortex as the group prepared to see where it led. Sweet apple acres. Equestria. Kong studied the long rows of apple trees while Twilight and her friends watched from afar. He looked down at one of the trees and hungrily stared at the juicy apples hanging from it. What's it doing? Asked Rainbow Dash. It looks like it wants some apples, said Starlight. It better not be thinking about plucking them apple trees, said Applejack. They watched as Kong gently tapped the side of the tree, causing several apples to fall off. He quickly reached down and began picking them up before popping them into his mouth like little candies. Wow, Applejack, it's just good as you. Pinky giggled as Applejack stared at Kong in awe. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. It's almost as tall as Candlelit Castle, said Sunburst, adjusting his glasses. But it does seem like it does not pose a real threat, said Star Swirl. But we can't be sure, we still don't know why it's here, said Twilight. I could try talking to it, suggested Fluttershy. I suppose if an Ipony was able to communicate with animals it'd be Fluttershy, said Rarity. They watched as Fluttershy nervously walked over to Kong as he continued munching on apples. Are you sure this is going to be safe? Asked Starlight. She's the element of kindness. I'm sure she'll be fine, said Rainbow Dash. Excuse me? Fluttershy called up to him nervously. Kong briefly stops snacking on apples and slowly turns his attention to Fluttershy. Hello there, Mr. Monkey. My name is Fluttershy. Me and my friends were just wondering what you're doing here. Kong lets out a deep groan as he stares at her. Do you not understand me? Fluttershy asked. Kong simply responds with hand gestures as he attempted to communicate with a pony. Doesn't seem like she's having much luck, said Starlight. As Kong continued his attempts to communicate with Fluttershy, he suddenly stopped and looked up. Mr. Monkey, is something wrong? Fluttershy asked. They watched as Kong gets to his feet and picks up his battle axe. Fluttershy, what's going on with it? Twilight asked as the rest of the group came out of hiding. I don't know, replied Fluttershy. Hey, do you all hear something? Asked Applejack. The group stopped talking to listen as the sound of jet engines could be heard coming towards them. What in Celestia's name is that? Asked Rarity. Up there. Star Swirl said, looking up. The others looked in the same direction as a large object came flying in their direction before coming to a halt several yards from where they were. The object slowly descended before landing. The group watched as 4 humans suddenly rushed out of the object and towards Kong. Are those? Asked Starlight. Yeah, no doubt about it, they're humans, said Sunburst. As the 4 approached Kong, they suddenly stopped when they saw Twilight and her friends. Whoa, Trapper raised his hands upon seeing the colorful ponies in front of them. Bitch, what? Bernie asked. Oh my goodness, Eileen stopped to catch her breath. Yo, I'm not dreaming, am I? Bernie asked, rubbing his eyes. No, those are not hallucinations, Bernie L. Buddy, said Trapper. I've never seen anything like this, said Eileen. Hey, are they talking about us? Asked Rainbow Dash. They are looking at us, said Applejack. As both parties cautiously approach each other, Gia suddenly stops in her tracks and turns her attention towards the direction of Ponyville. Hey, what's up? Eileen asks in sign language. I think something's here, Gia responds. What do you mean? Elin asks. I don't know how to explain it, something just feels off, Gia responds. Hey, what's she saying? Ask Bernie. Gia says something's here, Elin explains. Something? Like what? Ask Bernie. Yeah, it's not just her, agreed Trapper. I definitely felt like the air about this place was off, and it's not because we're in some other dimension. At the moment Elin's phone begins to vibrate. She quickly takes it out and freezes. Oh shit, Elin curses. What? Ask Bernie. There's a Titan here, said Elin. How's that possible? Asked Trapper. I'm not sure, but the writings are dangerously close, said Elin. Like how close? Asked Bernie. As if one cue, a loud monstrous roar filled the air. What in Equestria? Rarity yelped. It sounded like it came from Ponyville. Sunburst exclaimed. Kong growled as he picked up his axe and quickly ran in the direction of the small village. Come on girls, we need to hurry, said Twilight. The members of the task force watched as the ponies quickly rushed off in the same direction as Kong. Let's hurry too, everyone back in the hive. Alien quickly rushed back in the vehicle, followed by the others, and soon they were also headed in the direction of Ponyville. Ponyville. Equestria. As Twilight and her friends finally made it back to Ponyville, they were met with partially destroyed buildings and terrified ponies running around. What in Equestria? Twilight gasped. As the ponies tried to piece together what was happening, they were joined by the Monarch task force. It's around here. Asked Bernie. Yeah, no doubt, answered Delene. At the moment, Kong crash lands in front of them, causing the ground to shake and sending Rarity flying. Thankfully Trapper quickly rushes in and catches her before she hit the ground. You alright there, madam? Trapper asks as she looks up at him. Oh, thank you, darling. Trapper sets her down as she dusts herself off. Suddenly another roar fills the air as two buildings are demolished, revealing a second, more horrifying creature standing in the rubble. The creature had a crocodilian-shaped snout, with two giant legs and a long thorny tail, with distinct spikes at the end of the monster's elbows. The monster roars at Kong as its tail whips around. Is that? Asks Bernie. Oh yeah, that's a skull crawler, alright, said Trapper. No, not just any skull crawler, that's the Alpha, otherwise known as the Skull Devil, said Delene. Both Kong and the Skull Devil roar at each other before charging at one another. We need to go. If we stay here we'll end up crushed. But where are we supposed to go? Asked Bernie. Hey look, it's Her Royal Majesties. Everyone looked up as both Celestia and Luna suddenly appears and begins blasting the Skull Devil with their magic while Kong attempts to subdue the monster. Star Swirl. Twilight and the others turn around as the other pillars joins them. Friends, your timing couldn't be more perfect, said Star Swirl. What in Celestia's name is going on? Asked Meadowbrook. I unfortunately don't know, but now's not the time to be asking questions. The princesses need our help, said Star Swirl. Let's do our part as well, girls, said Twilight. The group of ponies turned towards the Skull Devil as Kong slams it into the ground before landing a punch to its face with his beast glove. As the Skull Devil gets to its feet, it hisses at Kong before swinging its tail at him, but Kong quickly grabs it and slices it off with his battle axe as it lets out a wail of agony. Just as he did though, the dismembered limb suddenly began to glow in a golden glow before dissolving away into nothingness. What? Elin murmured. She watched as the Skull Devil whimpered in pain, its tail stump glowing in a golden aura. The Monarch Task Force watched as Starlight, the Element Bearers, and the Pillars joined Celestia, Luna, and Kong in battle. While Celestia, Luna, Twilight, Starlight, and Star Swirl attempted to distract the Skull Devil by blasting it with their magic, the others attempted to attack the two legs, hoping to knock it off balance. Well, would you look at that, Trapper chuckled as they watched the ponies combat the monster. The Skull Devil hissed at the ponies on the ground and attempted to snap at them when Pinky aimed the barrel of her cannon at his face. Surprise attack. She giggled as she blasted the monster in the face with confetti. As the disoriented Titan tried to recover, both Applejack and Rocktooth began bashing away at the two legs. The Skull Devil yelped in pain and, in a desperate attempt, tried to squish the ponies, but not before Kong brought the axe down on its head, finishing the monster for good. Okay, that's brutal, said Bernie. They watched as the Skull Devil groaned and collapsed as the ponies cheered. Something wrong, deck? Asked Trapper. Do me a favor, watch what happens to the Skull Devil, said Delene. Confused Trapper turns his attention towards the corpse of the Titan as it begins to glow in the same golden light and dissolves away, leaving behind a giant hole where the Titan used to be. Huh, is that supposed to happen? Asked Trapper. You saw it too, right? Asked Delene. Something seems off. She looks over to Gia, who seemed to be caught in a trance of sorts. Hey, you okay? She asks as she shakes her on the shoulder. The skull devil, its body didn't seem organic, Gia responds. So you noticed it too? Gia nods as Ilium confirms this. She looks up as Kong walks over to them. Stop right there. Kong turns around as Celesta and Luna glares at him. Don't think you can get away after all the damage you've caused, Celesta growled. You must accept the consequences of your actions, Luna added. Both the humans and ponies watch in anticipation, as Celesta and Luna stare down Kong. The tension can and thanks for watching.